You're listening to the Sass Says podcast. I'm your host, Christy Rocha, also known as Sass. I identify as a woman, a wife, and a mother. That should tell you a lot already. And over the last few years, I've learned the value of talk therapy. I have seen how my inner work not only enhances my own well-being, but also my marriage, my parenting, my relationships. And in fact, you wouldn't be hearing this right now if it weren't for the work I've done. My mission is to debunk the misconceptions and stigmas around what therapy is and who it's for. Let's normalize working on our mental health and seeking help when needed. We've all heard of self-care, self-help, and self-love, but do you often wonder how to actually make it all happen? I do. You'll hear strategy-based conversations with professionals, as well as inspiring and validating stories from women who are just like you and me. Think of this podcast as the weekly therapy sessions you didn't know you needed, with a dash of sass, a lot of vulnerability, and me, relentlessly asking, but how? Hello. Okay, so my guest today is Tiffannie White. She is an interior designer and the creator of the Nappy Bohemian blog and self-care product line. I've come to know Tiffannie through her experience with my mom, Luann Nigara. She was a guest on her podcast called The Well-Designed Business. As an interior designer, Tiffannie understands the importance of creating a space that serves you mentally and emotionally. And in Tiffannie's words, after some serious soul work after the death of my mother, the importance of integrating mental wellness into all that I do is more important now than it ever has been. Design and self-care are not one size fits all. It's not superficial, nor is it something that has a hard end date. It evolves with our needs, it addresses our pain points, and it should be prioritized as such. Hence the launch of her self-care product line, which Tiffannie tells us more about on the show today. So we obviously get into a pretty lengthy discussion about the connection between design and self-care. We talk about the loss of her mother, her grieving process, and how that experience transformed her work and her life. We talk about diversity in interior design and refreshing your space to suit who you are today. All right, here we go. Hey, Tiffannie, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Hello. Thank you so much, Christy. I appreciate you.
It's so funny. You're a connection through my mom, and your episode aired on her podcast at a time that it was working for her. So behind the scenes, I was doing all of your social graphics and putting your bio and all that together. So I feel like I know you a little bit.
That's so wild. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
And now here we are. Yeah.
For sure. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Great. Well, I appreciate it. And so I guess I want to just get right into it. Your handle on Instagram, your blog, your sort of overall brand is called the Nappy Bohemian. I'm so curious about this name. How did you come to it?
Good question. Very good question. Honestly, it started with, I guess you can say, an act of rebellion. Going into the interior design industry, I quickly noticed that I was different from a lot of my peers and the people that I admired on television and social media. And a lot of the imagery just didn't show a lot of Black women who, like right now, I have locks in my hair, and at the time I had a big fro. Mm-hmm. And I remember going into a lot of the design centers in San Francisco and feeling kind of like an outcast, getting looked at. And I was just like, I'm going to create a lane just for me. I'm going to create a lane for myself and for people that look like me. And the name started because I have more of a boho aesthetic. Mm-hmm. And then I also was just like, they think my hair is nappy, and that's okay because it came out of my scalp and I love it. So hence the Nappy Bohemian. And then it transformed into more of just a general brand versus just like, I'm here and screaming it on the mountaintops, But I still love it. I still people laugh, and sometimes I think it's very fun for people to say. I think people gravitate towards the fact that it's very unique, and it's true and authentic. So right now, especially now, everyone, it's important to be as authentic as we possibly can. So it
Hmm.
just reflects me.
Yeah, it's eye catching for sure, and it immediately provokes curiosity. So I think, you know, just even from the most basic level, excuse me, of marketing and making, some sort of awareness for yourself, it's doing its job. So,
Yes, yes,
um,
for sure.
you said at one point throughout your description, you said they think my hair is nappy. Who's they? Who are you talking about? Who are you coming into contact with that you were just like, no, I can't just fit this mold?
Right, for sure. I mean, I feel like it was primarily wealthy white women who I continue to work with in the design spaces,
Hmm.
and came across in different, when I went to different vendors, different showcases, different show houses. Um, I often felt like I not only did my skin color and my hair look different, but it was also the socioeconomic status was different as well too.
Hmm.
So um, when I say they, it might not be necessarily just a specific demographic, but also just different levels of society even,
Hmm.
where I felt like as a budding designer, I self-taught. So even just with that, having a different educational background versus someone who spent a lot of time learning in a more formal collegiate way. So,
Right, right. And I know from, working with my mom and just sort of seeing on her platform and the different designers that have come to her in general, it seems that there is within your industry a lack of diversity and a lack of acceptance for maybe on the most basic level anyone who's not doing a white kitchen, right? So
exactly.
like
Yeah, sure.
what do you make of that, and what do you want to see and see different, or how do you think that the industry could start to make
Yeah,
changes?
that's a great question. I feel like it's already happening.
Mm.
I think that there has been a shift and a certain renaissance in awareness of diversity all over again. History tends to repeat itself. And I feel like right now we're at a time where we are all awakening to our own biases and realizing that things just haven't been inclusive. And I think going forward, um, it should be shifted into making sure that the choices we make, the people that we decide to speak with, the people decide we work with, how we're curating events, all that just is more natural versus, wait, let me just make sure we have someone from this background. Let me make sure we have someone from that background.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Mm-hmm.
I would love for it to feel like no one's just checking boxes,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
that this is something that just felt like they didn't have to think about it. That should
Mm-hmm.
be the direction that we're going in.
Yeah.
And also, there's so many levels of talent. And I think that we tend to all lean towards the same five Black women designers, when we're
Mm.
talking about diversity. And I won't say it's too easy, but also we're out here. It's
Yeah.
not just the five that
Right.
and see all the time. So
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything on a personal level, maybe how you've felt within your industry, that you would want your peers or someone listening to this who is hearing all of this for the first time, that you would want them to know and understand?
oh yeah, I would say the biggest takeaway is to have those. discussions and those talks with yourself
Mm.
and seeing, how genuine you could possibly be, how authentic you can possibly be, not necessarily um, doing it for everyone else,
Mm.
doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
Um, it's of course, we're going to want to put work out there that will get us more business, or put work out there that will get us more likes, or put work out there that will increase our exposure. But sometimes that's at the compromise of our authentic selves. So even if you do look like me and you feel like you have to produce work that looks like um, you know the rich white woman's work, or like you said, even on the basic level, just the all white kitchen, because you feel that that'll be the best way for you to be recognized in the industry. Don't feel like you have to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just be yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So your design studio is very much a reflection of your authentic self from what I can tell as an outsider looking in, and you've sort of transformed your business a bit. And I on your website you say, providing moments of peace through self-care and interior design. And I'm wondering if you could, from your own words, elaborate on where you see the connection between self-care and interior design.
Yes. So it'll have to go back to late 2019. I lost my mom. And prior to that, I was having a really hard time. I had taken care of her for about 10 years. I'm
Wow.
her only child.
Wow.
And I watched her decline physically, emotionally,
Mm.
mentally. And that whole experience really took a toll on me. During that process, um, in my own therapy, I wanted to be able to connect something that felt deeper for me. I Don't get me wrong, I love the idea of just providing beautiful sanctuaries for people, but also it was a realization that we have a little bit more at our disposal than what we think of to take care of ourselves and to help on a more emotional and mental platform. So when uh, during the height of the pandemic, it was pandemic, it was losing my mom, it was George Floyd, it was so many things that was happening in this dense amount of time that I realized that not only myself but the people around me were really struggling. And I'm not a doctor, so I can't help in that way. I'm not a lawyer, I can't help in that way, but I know design, and
Mm-hmm.
I know that when I'm in my own space and it's clean and it's organized and it's designed the way I like it, it helps. It really gives me a safe space to heal and rest and create or whatever it is that I need. And I wanted to be able to give that experience to my clients.
Mm-hmm.
So it started with just the Nappy Bohemian, but you'll notice now it's the Nappy Bohemian Home and Self, which includes a more feel good based approach to interior design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm so sorry about your mom. And my mom did share that with me, and I can't
Yeah.
imagine what you've been going through. And I know now from having some more of these conversations that even being her caretaker for that long, I'm sure really was very challenging, and such a mix of emotions. So I'm so sorry about
Yeah.
that. Um,
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
there's a lot within there that I want to ask you to elaborate on, but I think for the purposes of anyone listening too, when you now want to work with your design clients, what does that process look like when it almost feels like you want to take them beyond the design, right? It's not just
Yeah,
tables and chairs and pillows. So how
that's
do you
true.
how do you start to do that with someone else? How do you start to figure out what it is that's going to work for them and be healing and nurturing for them in their space?
Yeah. Well, it starts with um, two things. It's not just how you want it to look, but it's also how do you want it to feel and how do you want to feel? What do you need from it? And a lot of that starts with our initial work. And I've gotten a lot more dedicated to, I just want to get to know you a little bit better.
Hmm.
I'm going to share my experiences. You're going to share your experiences. And of the time, so far, 100% of the time, I've realized that clients come to me because, they see the beautiful spaces and they want something like that of their own, but it goes deeper than that. They often need a place of rest. They need a
Hmm.
feeling of homeostasis. They really need to feel welcomed into their environment. They're tired, they're on the move, they're on the go, and it's been something maybe they have always wanted and never really had the time, the resources, or didn't know how that process even looked. So
Mm-hmm.
it starts with just getting to know my client more and finding out based on whatever experiences they feel comfortable to share, um, how I can integrate that into their daily lives through interior design.
Yeah, I had a conversation recently with Cheryl Janis, and she was sharing that she was sharing that everything you just said since the pandemic has really, there's been this shift in people really wanting to come into their homes. Well, rather, they're in their homes and they don't leave their homes as much anymore, right? And
Yeah.
really wanting to place an emphasis on how they feel within their space. Are you finding the same?
Of course.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as, I'm pretty sure like the trending hashtags were like DIY projects or like
Yeah.
it was just ridiculous in a good way.
Right.
And um people would look around and say like, "You know what? I've been so busy and I really hate my dining room. I've been so busy and my living room it needs some love,
Mm-hmm.
and realizing that um you know, if you've ever experienced art therapy, there's a certain healing in just the idea of exercising that creativity or um, being able to put some thoughts down on paper and not have it just only live in your head and really see it come to fruition. So
Mm-hmm.
um, it totally increased with the idea that we needed to take care of ourselves as well as we are going to be here for a while.
Right.
And, you never know what's going to happen. So it's important to really feel comfortable where you're at. You some clients I would hear like, "Oh, I just live in an apartment," or "I just this," or "Oh, well, when I move, I want you to design my spaces." And that's probably one of the things I don't like to hear because the fragility of life makes me feel like you need to enjoy all your moments now.
Mm.
Don't feel like you have to wait to feel good. Don't feel like you have to wait to have a well designed space. It's
Yeah.
something that can happen now. Even if you were to rent a room, you can make it your own.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe this is from the influence of, being around really, really talented designers my whole life. But to me, I almost grew up with this thought that having a really well designed space was like reaching this next level of adulthood that I still don't feel like I'm in yet.
Right. Right. And then coming from my background, my mom, we didn't have a lot of resources.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was a really great designer. We've always lived in an apartment and she would even pay to get new carpets and
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, our apartment managers would use her house to show to prospective
Wow.
tenants. And, so I believe somewhere, deep down in there, I got my bug a little later, but
Yeah.
it's in there for me. But I also think that for a lot of my friends and family and peers and community, that you almost felt like it was a luxury,
Yeah.
because you saw people who were well off being able to have these well designed spaces. But it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be like that. It's accessible. And when I first started designing, when I first, put the Nappy Bohemian out there, that was my thing. I wanted everyone to realize that this is not just for a specific type of person. This is for all of us.
Mhm.
And it's just kind of shifted and metamorphed into what it is right now.
It's reminding me of how, throughout the quarantine and just sort of generally over time you hear the sentiment that, just getting up and getting yourself dressed and putting on, a pair of jeans instead of a pair of sweatpants and putting some makeup on and doing your hair, it can
Sure.
change your outlook, and it's reminding me of that. And I'm wondering, I love the word you used, accessible, is because, yeah, like I'll just use myself as an example. I'm looking around my house during this last year going, I want to change everything. And
Everything.
yeah, and
Yeah,
you know what, that's just not financially possible. So
for sure.
could you give some advice to me and others like me that are wanting to make changes but have to keep it accessible and have to keep it, within a budget? That some are there small things that we can do that might just feel refreshing, or you know what I'm getting at?
Of course. Yes. Like one of my biggest transformation tools is paint,
Mm.
because it's affordable, as well as the fact that you can do really cool things with paint. You might not be able to put, some wood paneling and wainscoting on your wall, but you can do it pretend with paint. You can paint a headboard. There's just so many different things that you can do with paint. Um, and also remixing what you have. Sometimes what you have is fine, it's just how it's laid out.
Mm.
Artwork. I'm a big thrifter, so I'm always looking for ways to, even for big ticket items like dressers and tables, sand it down, restain it, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Pinterest can be your best friend when it comes down to just, why doesn't this work? And just seeing like, oh, my rug might be too big, or maybe it's too small, or maybe I'm cramming too much things in one spot.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that psychologically you can do to shift how things look,
Yeah,
for
I,
sure.
I like that. I like the
Yeah.
remixing.
The remixing. Yeah, like there's I inherited this my mom loved elephants. So she had elephants everywhere. And now I have a storage that has some elephants in there. But there's this one elephant that I really love, and right now he's on my mantle, but he's been in my bedroom, he's been on a ledge, he's been in my kids' room. So it's just all about, sometimes you just want that fresh look and you can move some things around to get it right. A lot of people don't have a lot of storage solutions and just have clutter, and that's the easiest because it doesn't cost anything to just like, you know, donate some things.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for sure.
I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm as far as storage goes, I'm the opposite. I go through my closet like once a quarter and just, if I haven't worn it, I get rid of it. I'm like, I
You're so
mean, yeah, I just can't stand to look at it, especially if I'm not using it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's self-care in itself.
Yeah.
Is a lot of the times when things are too cluttered, my mind is more cluttered too. It's just distracting. So
Yeah.
I get that.
So I'm going to share a small example with you that happened recently. And there will be a question at the end of it, but my in my bedroom, we have one like gallery wall of just pictures of my husband and me above our bed, and then every other wall is either has a window or furniture or it's bare. And so I just got on this kick. It was actually right after I talked to Cheryl that I was like, okay, enough's enough. I got to put stuff on the walls, every room. And I went and I found this nice. She also talked to me about how curves and round features can make a space feel a little more comfy cozy. So I went and I found this mirror, and it's rounded, and I have it against the wall where I want it to go in our bedroom. And my husband's like, there's a mirror behind the door in the bathroom, right? I'm like, yeah, but this is just for the wall so we can fill the walls. He's like, I mean, sure, if you want, but I don't get it. And we often have this experience in our house where either he's just more of the I don't get it, but whatever, or we completely disagree on the aesthetic of our home. And I'm wondering if you have any advice for me on how to handle that.
That is a common theme. That happens in my house. It happens in my clients' houses. I'm always like, sometimes I'm in even super uncomfortable conversations because, like, if the dispute is happening in front of me,
oh man,
like, oh, can we wait or something? But multiple design styles can live together. Just like people. We often find love in the most opposite sides of ourselves. So I would say that design often happens this way too. I've gotten a little bit, I know I'm the Nappy Bohemian, but I've gotten away with just feeling like all my designs have to be a certain boho. I do have an eclectic mix of things, and sometimes it might be a way that I present someone else's style. So, say my husband's like, I really like this picture. For example, he is from San Francisco, and he had this San Francisco painting of the San Francisco Bridge, and it's red, and nothing in my room is red, and I don't like putting red in the bedroom because it's too fiery and it's not relaxing enough. So the whole dispute was, you always design your way, So I put it up.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to do it as tasteful as I could. I mixed it up in a more of a gallery style situation. I didn't. It's still not something that I warmed up to, but I was happy with the compromise. It still looked okay.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you just have to be willing to give a little compromise in there too.
Yeah.
It helps to find other spaces that that you can use for inspiration that blends those two things. Say, for example, you're more minimal and then your husband is more maximalist. That might be difficult to do, but maybe if you isolate a certain area where you can increase layers and then have everywhere else feel a little bit more clean and not excessive. There's ways that you can marry those two spectrums.
Yeah, it's funny. Your example that you shared is so relevant to me because we actually have this. We went to Spain a few years ago before COVID, and on one of those street vendors in front of a museum, he wanted to buy this, a replica painting, and it's got a lot of red in it, and I was like, I was beside myself. This was years ago before I could really communicate my feelings more effectively. But I was like, please don't buy this. Please don't buy this. Please don't buy this. Like, I don't know. And you know what? It's so funny you said that about the red San Francisco Bridge because I've now come to this week. I have it out. I got a frame and I have these other frames that I'm going to kind of mix it in with, and
Yeah,
it'll be in our bedroom. But you know what?
look at you.
I keep thinking every time he walks by it, he's gonna smile, And so I'm like, all right, that you know what that means. I'm gonna hang this on the wall, and that means every night when you walk by it to go to bed, you have to lie down with a smile on your face.
Right. Like I don't want to hear anything else because
Right.
there's that painting that you
Right.
wanted. So
Right.
so there it is.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean that's important. A lot of the time, sometimes you are living alone, and then you can just have whatever creative freedom you want. Even with kids, like my oldest daughter, she is going to be 12 soon,
Mm.
and she has an opinion for sure about the things that she wants and the things she likes and doesn't like.
Mm-hmm.
So um, there's always I like presenting options.
Yeah.
So even with clients, I'll show various things that might lean towards some design might feel more feminine and soft. Some of them might feel more industrial or masculine, and just kind of figuring out using their language cues, using their body language to see what sparks their interest, or
Mm-hmm.
see if I can find something that makes them gasp. That's always nice when I hear, oh, or ooh, or ah. I take note of those things and I'm like, okay, you like this. I probably lean towards this originally, but how can we, let's make this work for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the presenting of options and the compromising on our aesthetic has become my own version of self-care
Yes.
because our house, we've been living in this house almost, I guess, 3 years now, and there's almost nothing on the walls because we can't agree.
Yeah.
And so we're just living in this like bare walled house, and I'm
Yeah.
so over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My Their black and white photos, those help.
Yeah, yeah,
Those for sure help.
he doesn't want them. He wants color
Oh,
photos everywhere.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know. I know. And then I even said, "All right, I'll do color photos, but can we have the same color frames?" And he's like,
The
"No, I want
same frames,
right."
right?
But then he's like, "No, I want canvas." I'm like, "I can't with you. I got to go."
Right, right, right. Yeah,
Oh my
well,
goodness. It is what it is, I
you'll
guess.
have to send me some photos and we'll talk.
Okay, you know what? I probably will because I'm really just, especially with the holidays coming up, I'm like, oh,
Right.
I can't do another round of Christmas, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's with nothing on our walls. So,
Yeah.
anyway,
Time does not stand still.
no,
So
I know. All right,
it's
so this is my, like I said, my version of self care. And you've made self care a very, like I said, active part of your business and your
yeah.
just overall persona. Like, what does self care mean to you?
Oh, good one. Um, there's so many ways that I practice self-care, but a lot of it just boils down to being real with how I feel,
Mm,
and not postponing my own mental health for for my career, or for the kids, or for oh, I need to do this or I need to do that. All that is very important. However, I can't pour from an empty cup, and I wear so many hats, and I have so many different levels of responsibilities, as a mom, as a wife, as a my kids are in a bunch of different extracurricular activities, all that kind of stuff. I know that I have to take care of myself first. And then, like I said, with my experience with my mom, that was scary for me.
mm-hmm,
I didn't think when you're in it, if anyone, even listening, has ever experienced any form of depression or anxiety, or even just a fear or worry for a day, and then it lasts another day, and it lasts another day, and it continues, and it feels forever, and the world feels unfair, and you're questioning why things happened and why this? Why did I have to lose my mother? I see people having beautiful relationships with their mothers all the time, and just so many things that really shook me to the point that I realized I had to do something about it, but also I have to do something going forward.
Mm.
I didn't realize how burnt out I was.
Mhm.
I didn't take breaks taking care of my mom. I didn't have a lot of help. I think everyone assumed that I was, making it, and maybe I wasn't, and I didn't even know that either.
Yeah.
So, getting to a point where you are burnt out and at your wits end is not it's not okay for me anymore. It's not something I'm willing to compromise.
Mhm.
So the I like with the Nappy Bohemian Home and Self, I have a lot of self-care products. A lot of the self-care products that I have lean towards um, things for me to take a long bath,
Mm.
things for me to moisturize my body, things, candles that are massage oil candles to, increase my sensuality, all the things that feel really important for me. Rest, like even like you said, getting up and doing my hair,
Mhm.
not waiting to change my clothes before work, and all those things have been self-care for me, but not just, it doesn't always have to just be what you put on your body, or it doesn't have to be necessarily something as physical. I've noticed that saying no when I really want to say no feels like self-care.
Mhm.
And the old me would say yes all the time. Sure, I'll do this. Sure, I'll do this. And then I'll hate it because I'm too tired and I didn't have time to do it in the first place. And I thought I was going to be able to do something that I really needed to do, but instead I'm doing something for someone else again. Or, just setting boundaries for myself, whether it's in business, in personal, even, with my children, wanting to provide and give them everything that they need or want, can come at a cost. So it's something that I have really held on to. Just being able to set boundaries, really look at some of my prior decision making and think of like, why though? What made me feel like I needed to say yes when I really meant no? Or what made me stay when I really should have left? Or what made me question, um, am I just weird, or is that a space I didn't want to be in? All that
Mhm.
kind of thing is a form of radical self care.
Mhm. And talking about the burnout, learning when to say no, establishing boundaries for yourself. I mean, how did you learn to do that and make that mindset shift? Was it just like one day, like enough's enough? Or like if someone is listening and they're still in that space where they're feeling burnt out and pulled in every direction and they're wondering, okay, that sounds great, but how do I do it?
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
Well, I think it's important that you realize that it's not a journey where you find a destination.
Mm.
You're not really landing anywhere. It's something that is constantly happening, and it just gets stronger and better over time. So one day it might just be, I've been saying I need to go to the gym. If I can just walk through the gym doors, then I can say I did it. You
Mm-hmm.
walk through the gym doors and you're like, well, since I'm here, I guess I'll get on a treadmill or something,
Right, right.
and you get on for 30 minutes and then you go home and you take a shower and you realize that you did it
Yeah.
and you feel good. You might want to share it with someone. Guess what I did today? I went to the gym,
Mm-hmm.
and that holds you off until the next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I look at it like a bucket where you're putting little things in your self care bucket, but life pulls those things out.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you can squeeze in stuff to put in your self care bucket, then even if you can't make your life any less hectic than what it is, you know. It's the ability to cope, though. It's the ability to say, like, yeah, life is really intense right now, but it's a good life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm busy, but it's a good busy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also turning my phone off and not scrolling on Instagram at 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, I am, like you said, showering, brushing my teeth, all that kind of stuff. I am going to go get my nails done. If you know me and you've seen my photos, I'm big on a full set of acrylic nails. So, you know, I have to be able to get in there and do that. Just those little things for me are like, okay, I'm filling up my self-care bucket for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there a conversation that needed to be had with, maybe your family, your friends, your coworkers, whoever, like when you started to make these changes that would obviously start to affect the people around you.
Of course.
How did you communicate your needs? How did that dynamic shift and play out?
I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
There's certain areas that um have been easier than others. Some of the easier ones were um people who were also realizing that this shift came from the healing of some really dark times.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't do anything but respect it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've seen the alternative. The alternative was a depressed Tiffannie,
Yeah.
a sad Tiffannie, an anxious Tiffannie, you know, and if you appreciate and love me like you say you do, then and you want to see me like this, you would be okay with me saying no this time for this
Right.
one thing, you know?
Right.
For
Right.
sure. And then I think it helps too that there's the whole persona on Instagram because, you know, people see me there as well. So if if I never picked up the phone and say, hey, I hate it when you do this, so don't do it anymore and I'm not going to let you, they saw me post something on Instagram and they've also saw me shift my energy around that. They might have realized I don't answer the phone as much. So,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, people are
Yeah.
smart
Yeah. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. And so this persona on Instagram, how much does she vary from the Tiffannie at home or the Tiffannie in her own space in her own mind?
Well, see, it's really important for me to be authentic. So when I have bad days, I also post about those too.
Oh, that's good.
Because I would never want someone to say like, dang, all you got to do is rub yourself with massage oil and take a long bath and design your space and then the world is better because that's not how it works.
Right. Right.
You know? So I'm still, you know, I'm often like right now, I'm talking a lot again about grief and emotional triggers because it's about to be the 2-year anniversary of my mom's passing.
Mm,
So, um, I don't, it's important for me to be as real and authentic as possible in my process because it's been 2 years and no, I did not wake up and everything was fixed.
right.
It just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
Um, but I appreciate the growth, and the growth has been documented. And then at home, it's the same exact thing. You'll often hear me say that, like, I've had some darker days and some darker days than I would even imagine, you know, before the experiences with my mother got really bad. But also, my life feels the most hopeful that it's ever been.
Mm,
And I think it's just more of the focus is kind of just that it's always in the forefront. Like, how am I feeling today? Am I grateful? What do I appreciate? Am I doing the things that I love? I used to have so many fears, and just like, I'm kind of like currently addicted to facing my fears. It's kind of weird. So, like, I recently got on a plane with the family and we went to New York from California. My
Flying was
plane,
a fear.
Oh my gosh, girl, like bad though, like to the point where, turbulence would make me cry. I would be the person trying to, this is pre-COVID, but
Right.
I would ask my neighbor if I could hold their hand
Oh, wow.
because I'm scared during takeoff and I'm scared doing landing. And I, um, I know that my mom lived fearful and it
Mm-hmm.
didn't get her far living that way. So it was important for me to, it's okay to be scared of stuff, but let's do something with that.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm just like, I flew to New York. I could go anywhere now. Fly me to the moon.
Next year, you'll be getting your pilot's license. It's no big
Yes,
deal.
right, no big deal. Right. Just a little some.
Right.
But I think it definitely reflects when the persona is more so I might not, post a picture with me sitting on my couch in my bra. That's probably
Fair. Okay. Yeah.
the level of difference that you get, but
Yeah.
everything else is very reflective to my personal experiences on a day-to-day basis for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think all of us, even those of us who like to be as authentic and genuine as possible on the internet, there is a certain level of intimacy that is for us, that's for
For sure.
for just ourselves or even
For
our
sure.
intimate families. I mean, nobody
Yeah.
wants or needs to know every little thing.
Right. Right. Like I don't post a lot about my kids.
Right.
You don't see much family pictures or anything like that, but I speak of them a lot.
Hmm.
But I'm just more reserved and cognizant of the fact that they're still young and
Yeah.
they don't really, consent is such a weird thing.
I know.
I don't think they fully grasp that they can consent to or not consent to being circulated on the internet,
I know,
and
it's wild.
something like that.
Yeah.
So um I keep a lot of those kind of things closer to me, even with my products. So my massage oil candle, of course, it's a body butter, but it's a candle. You light the candle and the body butters melt down, and the body butter pours directly on the skin.
Oh.
So it's something that's like a lotion alternative, or, you can definitely use it to treat dry spots and things like that. But also, it feels like a very sensual product.
Hmm.
When I'm doing more in person events and you can see the direction of some of the shoppers
Yes.
are like, wait, you could,
Yeah.
what? And that's always even a fine line on social media because um I don't want to, transform from being a self care advocate to being like a sex guru.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
so
That's not
even
your
then,
lane. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not my lane. So a
Right.
lot of times it's like these are for self care. However, I understand.
Right. And
For
you
sure.
define for you what self-care means.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Because there is a certain pleasure in self care.
Mhm.
There is a certain importance for me to have pleasurable experiences. Now, yes, that can be a little bit more, sensual and sexy, but also just like appreciating my curves,
Mhm.
loving on my stretch marks, all that kind of stuff is an act of sensual self care. So
Yeah. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit more about the products?
yes, I would love to.
Yeah.
So
Go
right
ahead.
now, it started so the Nappy Bohemian started in 2017. By 2019 and between 2019 and 2020 is when the emotional poop hit the fan, right? So I lost my
Yeah.
mom, the the George Floyd. It was weird to even be at work in a predominantly white environment,
Mhm.
and now everyone wants to know how I feel or how I'm doing, and
Right.
it was highlighted in a way where as a black person living in America I experience these things all the time, but now everyone that I won't say they didn't care, but they weren't aware that I was affected. Now they want to know how I'm affected and can I talk about it, and it was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And then also design wise, a lot of projects were being put on hold. It was I was nervous. I was like, is I know businesses are closing. Is my business going to survive this? We didn't know what was happening. So I started with a massage oil candle. I was just Googling online, one of those 2 o'clock in the morning ramblings, looking through DIY projects because that's where if I get too stressed, I'm probably going to want a glass of wine, a canvas, and some watercolors.
Mm.
So I was like, what else can I do?
Mm-hmm.
And I love the idea of making candles. And I also like making different lip scrubs and stuff like that. I've made balms and salves in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like looking up massage oil candles. And I realized that they are difficult to make, but it can be done. So with trial and error, it was my first massage oil candle. And it was really for me. And I didn't necessarily know how would I integrate that into my business. And I didn't even know if it was something that I wanted to add to the Nappy Bohemian because, I'm still at the time building a name in interior design and I didn't want to confuse people.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a lot of inspiration. I realized that a lot of the designers that I admired had home products.
Mm.
Even my girl Martha Stewart.
Right.
So I was like, wait. I could do it doesn't have to be separate.
Right.
Like and I really sat back like, why is this important? What am I doing for people?
Mm.
The feedback I was getting from, more mature married couples were we needed this. I was getting even, I say it all the time, but one of my favorite um, people who tried it early on said, who has suffers from lupus, and she was saying how helpful that has been to her body, and
Mm.
just things like that. And I was like, you know what? When I said I wanted to help people, this is also it as well.
Right.
So the massage oil, at one point, it was just one fragrance, and I usually have five, and I'm always releasing something new. I got really into essential oils and aromatherapy.
Mm.
And there is a detox bath tea that I make that is all handmade, and I use it frequently because, like I said, I'm filling up my self care bucket as much as I can. So even if it's locking my door for 30 minutes so that I can take a bath and breathe in those feel good chemicals and really getting that, letting my brain stem really relax all those muscles and tension, is has really been not just important for me, but it has worked, which
Mm-hmm.
is nice because everyone wants to feel good, and sometimes you worry that things just don't work, or what if it doesn't work, or what if I have to feel this way forever. So a lot of those products that I make are in regards to that, combining moments for self with, these various forms of meditation, these various forms of aromatherapy to aid and comfort our minds and our souls.
Yeah. I mean, it's wonderful. It sounds lovely, and I'm gonna go probably right after this and add some stuff to my cart.
Aw,
I
thank
will,
you.
yeah, of course.
Well,
I
I'll give
mean,
you a discount code for
ah,
sure. I'll
yes.
send it to you after we're
Oh,
done.
yes, please, because I need more of everything you just said, and I think a lot of us are in that boat right now. So I will, of course, be, linking your shop and your site to the show notes, but I really love it. I really think
Thank
that
you.
we can all benefit from really making the time to slow down. And
Yeah.
in my experience so far, and I'm working on this, but simply saying to myself, I need to relax or I need to take more time for myself, like, doesn't necessarily work. So
Yeah.
it's almost like having a nice new candle or a nice, something to mix in with the bath. Like, it's a motivation because I want to try it. I want to experience it, and it will push me to do it,
Yes, for sure. Definitely. Definitely.
So I want to ask you one more question that isn't entirely related to what we were just talking about, but
Okay.
I jotted it down as you were talking earlier, and I wonder, with the anniversary of your mom's passing coming up, is
Mhm.
there anything that you're doing specifically to prepare yourself for that?
Um, yes. So there is always, I don't, there's a book called, I believe it's called Our Body Keeps the Score or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
It's a really good book, and I've only read snippets. And I'm an avid reader, so it'll definitely be on my list. But um, that is so true for me. So my anxiety heightens
Mm-hmm.
around times, even just going into the fall. Everyone was so happy to see pumpkin spice latte this, or Halloween this, or Thanksgiving that, and just those little nodes to going into fall. But for me, it's like, well, fall represents the time of my mom's passing, but also my mom was huge on the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
She loved Thanksgiving. She loved getting together. She loved eating with family, all that kind of stuff. So, all of that triggers a lot of my worries and anxiety, and it my grief and all of that. So, in order to prepare, I definitely have to just listen to myself a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
and know that, like, if I don't feel good, it's not because something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that I need to do something radically to fix it.
Right.
But I do need to love on myself, and I do need to give myself time. And I do have to realize that it takes work, and everything doesn't change overnight. I have to be patient with my grieving process. I have to be patient with myself. I have to be okay if I need to talk to somebody. I have to be okay with maybe I generally like, for example, I'm one of those people that always have available PTO. I'm just working, working, working. I'm doing this, I'm doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe those are the days that I use them, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Um, I want to do something nice for her, and it'll probably look like cooking her favorite foods, going to visit. Maybe her favorite color is purple, so maybe a purple set of acrylic nails,
Mm-hmm.
things like
Mm-hmm.
that, where
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm honoring her. It feels good to not feel like she's forgotten.
Yeah, of course.
To include my family in the experience as well, making sure my kids know how important she was, and making sure that the lessons that she would have wanted me to be teaching them continues to live on. So
Mm-hmm.
it it's gonna be rough. I also always tell myself I've been here before. I know what this is, and that's helpful too,
Mm-hmm.
because you often feel blindsided by your emotions.
Yeah.
You and realizing that I have survived the worst of it, and I am okay with feeling a little bit of discomfort,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not going to dictate the rest of my life, and that I will continue to do what I need to take care of myself so that I can be better and better with what has happened,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
That was so beautifully said. Thank you for sharing. And
Thank you for asking.
yeah. Well, and thank you for your time today and all of your insight. It was so lovely getting to know you better. And I mean, I just found myself throughout much of what you're saying. Just you can't see me. People listening can't see me. Just nodding. Yup, yup, yup. So thank you so much for doing this with me. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Christy. I appreciate you as well. I definitely have been following you and soaking up all that you're putting out there. And I'm really proud of you for doing all this. I know it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of planning and a lot of dealing with making sure that you aren't, going through any imposter syndromes or
Mm,
self doubt, or even like I'm sure it's intimidating because of your mom,
yeah.
and so just all of that. And I just wanted to let you know that I recognize you, I see you, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you so much. That's very sweet. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I first want to say that at the time of this recording, my very own white sage and lavender massage oil candle from Tiffannie's shop is on its way to me. I'm so excited to try it. Please make sure you visit Tiffannie's website and browse around. Her design and her products are absolutely beautiful, and I'm truly so excited to get my hands on this candle. Yeah, I'm a candle girl. It's true, it's a thing. If you know, you know. All right, so anyway, I absolutely love the idea of incorporating self care into design, especially now that many of us are home more than ever. Following my conversation with Cheryl Janis on episode 31, and of course this conversation with Tiffannie, I made a point to spruce up some areas in and around my home. I am evidence that it makes a difference. Part of it for me is that not only do I derive joy in seeing new or remixed decor, but I also derive a sense of pride in feeling like, hey, I did that. I put that together and made it look nice. Now, I have to admit that my husband and I both agreed that after seeing the layout of the artwork from Spain, that it was not best suited to our bedroom. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I have yet to hang it. But I do have a place for it. I promise him, you, Tiffannie, and myself that I will hang it. So, I want to thank Tiffannie for so openly sharing about the loss of her mom. I can't imagine it gets any easier to talk about, but I know her insight was helpful to me, and I'm sure to someone else. And I want to thank you for listening, and that's all I got. I'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Sass Says is a production of Luann Nigara Inc. This podcast is meant to be educational and not meant to replace professional therapy or professional medical attention. To learn more about today's show and what's new in my world, head over to sasssays.com. Thanks so much. Talk later.